So Horizon Zero Dawn, huh? It's like the biggest hyped PlayStation exclusive game right now. I did get it early. I was lucky enough, so I've been playing a ton of it, and I have a lot to say. Some people seriously think this game is like Jesus Christ from heaven. 10 out of 10, done deal. I don't agree. I think it's an excellent game, but it's definitely got some problems, and it doesn't totally jive with me. Now, of course, that's just my opinion. I don't want to shit on your parade. I still think it's a really good game. I think a lot of people are going to really love it, but there's just some aspects that I didn't totally like and I didn't think were as big of a deal that people are making it out to be. Like most other video games, it borrows elements from other video games, and that's totally cool, although it doesn't do a lot more new things to make it really feel fresh, except for one specific thing. Now, first things first, it does oftentimes feel a lot like the newer Tomb Raider games, where you're always creeping around in a bush and you're waiting to strike at the right moment. But then it also has a lot of elements like something from Far Cry or even a little Zelda or Shadow of Colossus, which absolutely are not bad things at all. I will say that definitely though, it seriously does feel like Far Cry Primal if it was 10 times better. And Far Cry Primal was still a really good game, mind you, but I will say that what I like what Horizon Zero Dawn does that makes it unique is the whole dinosaur hunting thing. I was also very surprised that this game is a lot more than just that. I thought it was a post-apocalyptic robot dinosaur hunting game. There's so much more going on. I'll get to that, but really the mechanics here where you're tracking and using your scanner and finding the weak points of these creatures and then using all the tools in your tool set to take down these creatures and like launching an offensive after planning everything out, that's where the game is absolutely at its best. It's not at its best when it's doing all the open world stuff. It's not always even at its best when it's doing the storytelling stuff, but it's at its best when you're playing and you're fighting monsters, dinosaurs, robots. That's where I love the game the most, and that's honestly where it can be pretty challenging. Sometimes you can get your ass beat in like 1 or 2 hits, and that was surprising, but it was cool because it makes you feel really vulnerable and you're really never safe even when you think you are. But I will say also too, I gotta give props to the crafting system because it's very constant and very reactive, and you're always using it. You're always running around gathering plants, gathering sticks, gathering whatever, but it works. It's never annoying. It's just a main part of the whole combat. You're always gonna need to craft special rope arrows. You're always gonna need to craft certain elemental things to take down different creatures, and that shit is exciting because I love spending time on foot in this game world. The game world is really freaking good because it's so freaking gorgeous. Look at this game in motion. Even though this is a console game, I play a lot of games on PC, and people give me shit because I talk about how great PC gaming is. Okay, whatever. But this game looks amazing. I said it with Uncharted, and I'm going to say it now even with this, because this is like Uncharted, but if Uncharted was an open world. This is one of the best looking games I've ever played, okay? Like, straight up. There's always sunlight, there's always shadows, there's always fog, there's always atmospheric effects. Vegetation is always moving in the wind. The game's frame rate doesn't take a hit. While it is at 30 frames per second, which some people have a huge problem with, it's just always looking really damn good. And not only that, the environments are interesting because it is a post-apocalyptic thing, so you are going to find old remnants of the past, but it's so far after that where things have come into their own and it's become a whole different world just with echoes of the past. So there's so much variety and there's so many different regions to each location, which almost reminds me a lot of Zelda. It's like, here's the desert world, here's the forest world, here's the jungle world, and that's awesome. The problem I would say though is that some of the progression systems I'm not really cool with, like the actual loot and weapons and upgrading. There's not enough there to really get me hooked into that progression to really push me to keep exploring. What I do like is in the economy with trading with merchants, you use in-game currency to get new outfits, but you also need to trade elements of things that you get from hunting some of the big creatures to also trade. So it does incentivize you to hunt, which I like, but other than that, it's not really worth it. This game is filled with side quests. It's absolutely huge. I was surprised how big this game is with its regions and cultures and cities. It's like The Witcher 3, and it's filled with side quests, but the problem is the side quests are mostly boring, and the fact that even if you do find a side quest that's good and interesting and well written, which you do find occasionally, the problem is that you never really get anything that great from completing a quest. It's all just kind of the same shit. You just come across the same stuff and you're familiar with all the stuff very early on in the game, and nothing really surprises you after about halfway through in terms of what you pick up. But what does surprise you, I think, is the story, which does, of course, sometimes fall prey to typical video game tropes stuff, which, you know, makes it feel more like a video game story than something you would read in a book and a movie, and that's not a bad thing at all. But we do have the problem here of Aloy, the main character. I don't think she's the worst. I think she's really kind of badass and capable, but she's also a little dull sometimes. While she is one of the lighter-spirited characters, and every once in a while she's got a good line, didn't care about her too much, But the way the story was written, on the flip side, I can kind of contradict myself. The game's driving me crazy. Her story is interesting, though. I want to figure out what she's trying to figure out. As much as I don't care about her specifically, I want to see what's going down, you know? The story did do a good job of keeping me playing moment to moment, and honestly, despite it being such a big open world with a bunch of distractions, I really wanted to plow through and figure out what was going on and kept seeing what's happening next. And I gotta give him props for that, because that's big. But like I said, though, I was genuinely surprised just how massive this game is. Not only just from the map and the variety, but just how much of this world after the world ended has redeveloped and become its own new separate thing. Once you venture out of your nest, of your tribe, there's so much more to discover in this game that I'm not going to spoil. And a lot of it is really crazy and really big and impressive that they built this whole entire giant big thing. They're going for a Skyrim. They're going for a Witcher, but with this new weird, unique spin on it. And while it doesn't always totally nail with me, sometimes it's a little tonally inconsistent, I think they did a great job. And honestly, as much as I think this is a decent game, I hate scoring games, but for me, I'd give it like an 8.5 type of thing, maybe even a 9 if you catch me on a good day. I do think if they make a Horizon Zero Dawn 2 or something, it could be one of the best fucking games of all time. Seriously, I'm going to say that right now. If they fix the problems that I had with this one, it could be one of the best ever. And they probably definitely have plans for this to become a big Sony franchise, but for the first outing, Horizon Zero Dawn I think is really good. I think you're going to like it. I think there's a lot to enjoy there. I don't think it's the end-all be-all perfect video game. No game is, of course, but it just has a few bits in there that to me just come off, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Oh my god. How many times have you read a review and you see someone describe it? It's a mixed bag. Oh my god. It's a jumbled container of things. It's a Tupperware of various degrees of elements. What? Why are you looking at me? What? I'm trying.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of something instead of saying mixed bag. It's a bucket of possibilities. It's a bucket of varying possibilities.
It's like the Lay's chip variety pack.
It's the Lay's chips variety pack.
Yeah.
Some of them are great. Some of them aren't.
Exactly. Like you never.
Most of them are good.
Exactly.
Horizon Zero Dawn, most of the chips in it are very good. Thanks for sticking around and hearing me ramble about this game. I had to get my thoughts out there because I am so very mixed, but I did have such a good time. And I know the game's not out yet, but I do want to hear what do you guys think of it. And once you do play it, if you do go play it, I think you should. Come back here, let me know what you think, because we got to talk about it, okay? But as always, thanks for hanging around. I'll see you guys later. I'm Jake Baldino, just because video games.